Hello students. So let us do today the topic on pigeon and its respiratory system. So we know that pigeon is a bird and that it has a different kind of a respiratory system. Let us just note down briefly what differences these are. Firstly, that the lungs do not contain alveoli, but they are made of what we call as parabronchi. These are tubes. They are tubes that lead and they don't end up into a blind tiny ball like structure which is the alveoli. 2. Lungs are inelastic. Unlike the lungs of, say, a mammal, which can move up and down and which can expand, these lungs are inelastic. The reason is that they are connected to air sacs. These are connected to air sacs. And these air sacs are the ones that work as bellows. So therefore, air in actual words moves twice over lungs, and this makes it very efficient. And of course, they have syrinx, and this syrinx is at the junction of trachea and bronchi. So these are the different features. The lungs contain, or they are made of parabronchi. The lungs are inelastic, that means not elastic. They are connected to air sacs which work like bellows. Air moves twice over the lungs. It makes it very efficient, and there is a sound creating or a song creating box called as the syrinx, and the syrinx is at the junction of trachea and bronchi. They have a larynx, but it's very small. So these are some of the features of a pigeon respiratory system. Let's try to draw a diagram here. These are the trachea. And the trachea are supported by cartilage. They have cilia. At this junction here is the syrinx. These are the bronchi. This is the bronchus. Here will be the syrinx. In this place here will be the syrinx, but I'm not marking it. Here are the lungs, which I am first drawing with dotted lines. These are the two air sacs at the lower end. The same thing I will draw over here. Then at the lower end, and these are the lungs. And we will mark these as lungs. And these are the different air sacs. So for air sacs we will use a slightly different color. This type of air sacs in a bird makes them very efficient. There is one more here which I am showing with dotted lines. So these are the lungs, and the lungs contain parabronchi, which I am just showing in a representative manner in this way. Lungs with okay. So let's label these. This is cervical air sac. This anterior thoracic air sac. This is the posterior thoracic air sac, and this is the abdominal air sac. So let's write this down. What is the respiratory system made up of? You can say that it begins with the pharynx. You will write it down from the pharynx. Then there will be a glottis. Then there will be a small larynx. These are relatively unimportant in the larger scheme of the parts. Then there will be trachea. Then there will be two bronchi, and in this junction there will be syrinx. Then there will be lungs, which are made up of parabronchi. Let us list down the different air sacs. So we can say that there are 9 of them. That means there are 4 pairs plus 1. 4 pairs plus 1. And we can see that we have mentioned here that there is cervical air sac, anterior thoracic air sac, posterior thoracic air sac, abdominal air sac. And this one which I have drawn over here is interclavicular. So which are the pairs? Cervical, anterior thoracic. There are 2 here, there are 2 here. Then there is posterior thoracic, and there is abdominal. So there are 2 here and there are 2 here. So out of these 2, you can look at the location here. They are anterior, both of them. And these 2 are posterior. Air sacs. And plus the one that is single, that is unpaired, is interclavicular. Interclavicular, these. Now let us try to understand what does a lung look like. So let's say that this is the trachea and this is leading to the lungs. So this is bronchus. This is trachea. I am only drawing it on one side. This is air sac, which I have just shown that it is going to the air sac. This is also the air sac. Both these are anterior, these are posterior. Now this part of the bronchus continues on one side and then it gives off number of branches. So we will show these branches in this way. And internally, again to make the diagram easier, I am just drawing it like this. So again this is just representative. So this one is called as Dorso Bronchus. So as this bronchus comes down, there will be one tube here which is called as Dorso Bronchus because it is facing the dorsal side, and one is Ventro Bronchus. And these will give out to number of branches. See this space that you see in between, these are parabronchi. So actually, unlike the diagram which I have shown over here, the parabronchi is a tube. It is open on left side also, open on right side also. But this is now surrounded by blood vessels. So this is a capillary. There will be a network of capillaries. And these capillaries are also going around this parabronchus. Now, naturally, since it is the capillary, there will also be what I have shown here is in red color, which means that it is oxygenated blood, but there will also be deoxygenated blood, and this is means that what you have to understand is that this is the parabronchus, which is having a tube which is empty space is there where the exchange of gases is taking place, and this is the capillary, and in this capillary there is oxygenated blood, and in this part of the capillary, again capillary, there is DO2. What we're trying to explain over here is that here we have a set of capillary tubes which we call as parabronchi, and surrounding the tubes are capillaries, just like we have in an alveolus. In an alveolus, so that is how all the capillaries will look. Now what it means is that from the air that is coming from the trachea is going to go through these parabronchi and then move over to the air sacs and come back. So we will try to understand this part. So let us show this in a slightly different manner, representatively, to understand how this takes place. Let us assume that these are the tubes of the parabronchi. This is the bronchus. This is also the bronchus. This is all these are parabronchi. This whole structure is the lung. This is representative of anterior air sacs. This is representative of posterior air sacs. When we are considering lungs of the pigeon, let us look at the airflow, and we will divide this into 4 parts because there are 2 phases of inspiration and 2 phases of expiration. So inspiration 1. What is inspiration 1? Air from the pharynx, which is from outside, enters the trachea, enters lungs, and enters abdominal air sacs. Expiration 1. Air from abdominal air sacs enters lungs. Inspiration 2. Air from lungs enters anterior air sacs, and expiration 2, air from anterior air sacs goes out. Although we have written this in this way, they are actually happening at the same time. Okay. It means that the air sacs work as bellows. So what has happened in inspiration 1? Air from outside enters the trachea, and at the same time when both the bellows are contracting, anterior and posterior, air from the lungs are entering the anterior air sacs. Okay. Whereas in expiration, these two are connected. Both this inspiration 1 and 2 both inspirations 1 and 2 occur simultaneously. Similarly, both expiration 1 and 2 they occur simultaneously. What does it mean? Just try to read this. In inspiration 1, air from pharynx enters abdominal air sacs, and inspiration 2, air from lungs enters anterior air sacs. So in inspiration 1 and 2, air fills up air sacs from lungs. So one set will enter, that's why I have shown the arrow mark this way, because it is entering the air sac. One set of air will travel into the posterior air sac, one set will travel into the anterior air sac. Now in expiration, air sacs, air leaves air sacs. So in the first one, what happens? From the posterior air sac it enters the lungs, and in the second expiration, from the anterior air sac it goes outside. So this is when inspiration is taking place, air is filling up the air sacs, and when expiration takes place, air is leaving the air sac. Air leaves air sac and air fills up air sac. So this is how it will be working as bellows. At the same time it will be happening. This is a little long and complicated, so you have to read this several times and listen to this several times to understand this. So with that, this is Professor Ravi calling it off.